My name's Florence Pugh, and the night my mom toasted me as the family's mistake, I walked out and never came back. Years later, she needed a bailout, only the investor on the other side of the table was me. If you've lived through something like this, share your experience in the comments. Tomato sauce coated my fingers as I slid a tray of baked ziti onto the dining table at my Aunt Linda's place in the suburbs near Chicago. The kitchen was small for the number of opinions, so I kept moving, plates out, napkins down. Diane Mercer, my mother, stood by the fridge, taking compliments on a dish she hadn't touched. She hooked a finger in my sleeve and tugged me behind the pantry door. Her voice dropped into the tone she used when asking for a tiny favor. "Sign these," she said, pressing a fat stack of envelopes into my hands. "Just quick. We need it before Monday at 5 p.m. The top page had bold print, Authorisertion Consent. My thumb paused on it. Diane slid her palm over the heading, blocking most of it, like hiding a bruise. "Mom, what is this?" "Don't start," she muttered, already steering me back toward the living room. Out there, the relatives had arranged themselves in the usual clusters: football by the TV, gossip by the dessert table, sympathy near the coat rack. Someone was talking about Diane's company being on the edge, how this week was make or break. Uncle Ray grumbled that the doorbell unit had gone dead again right when the house was full of people. My purse wasn't where I left it. It sat 2 hooks down, turned so the zipper faced the wall. Diane clinked her glass with a spoon and lifted it like she was about to thank everyone for coming. Her eyes found mine and stayed there a beat too long. "In case anyone was wondering," she said, laughing bright, "this girl is the biggest mistake of my life." A few people chuckled the way they do when they don't know what else to do. Others stared at their plates like they might start talking back. Diane raised her glass again as if she'd just told a cute story about a mischievous puppy. Nothing came out of my mouth except one sentence. "What do you need me to sign?" Her smile tightened. Diane reached up, squeezed my shoulder for the audience, and sighed like she deserved a medal. "You always make everything dramatic," she said. That was enough. The dish towel hit the counter. My hands washed fast and careless. At the coat rack, my wallet slot was empty. No ID, no debit card. Diane stood in the hallway, phone glowing in her palm. Her thumbs moved. A message popped on her screen before she tilted it away. "Done," she murmured to someone who wasn't me. The front door stuck for a second like it wanted to keep me there. Then cold air hit my face. My phone buzzed once, then again, then again. Bank alerts stacking up faster than I could swipe. The top one flashed, credit activity. A thumb hovered over the notification. The screen opened, and my name snapped through the night behind me. "Florence!" I froze with the phone halfway to my ear, turning back toward the porch. Aunt Linda's voice followed my name down the front steps. Her hand caught my elbow, not hard, just enough to turn me back toward the noise. Diane was already smiling like she'd booked entertainment. My phone kept buzzing in my palm. I glanced at the screen. Nothing looked familiar anymore. Linda whispered, "Don't do this here." "Move," I said, keeping my voice flat. Diane called from the hallway, "See? Drama." A cousin tried to joke about wine. Nobody laughed. I walked past them, out the door, and didn't stop until the car rideshare arrived at the curb, jaw set. Morning came with a stiff phone charger and the smell of burned toast from my roommate's kitchen. Notifications stacked like junk mail. The family group chat lit up. Aunt Linda asking if I was okay, Uncle Ray telling me to call your mother, and 3 cousins posting praying hands emojis again. Nobody asked what she said. They asked what I did. One voicemail opened with a sigh and ended with the same line. "Just apologize so we can move on." Another message warned, "You'll regret embarrassing her." Diane's version traveled faster than my bank alerts before I'd even finished washing up. I tapped the credit alert. Hard inquiry. New account application. Mailing address, Diane Mercer. Same street, same zip code. Like my life had been forwarded. A second alert showed an email I'd never used. The contact number ended in my mother's area code. My wallet felt light in my pocket. At the diner, my manager Ken waved me toward his office instead of the register. He held a plain envelope like it might bite. "Something came for you," he said. "From who?" He shrugged. "Payroll verification. Maybe a debt thing?" His eyes flicked to the floor, then back to me. Ken didn't accuse me of anything, which somehow felt worse. The cooks went silent when I walked past, then started talking again the second I turned away. A server I barely knew asked, "You okay?" without looking up, like she didn't want an answer. I clocked in and took 6. Marisol Vega caught me by the soda machine between orders. She'd been here longer, knew every rule and every loophole. "You look like you swallowed glass," she said. "I'm fine." "No, you're targeted." "That's a strong word." "It's an accurate one." She nodded at my phone. "Save everything. Dates, numbers." Marisol lowered her voice. "Don't fight her with feelings," she said. "Then what?" "Paper, logs, time." She slid a sticky note into my apron with a number for a free legal clinic. "Call them today." A customer snapped for more coffee, and Marisol stepped away, leaving me holding the pot. On break, I dialed Diane. She answered on the second ring, breathless, like she'd been waiting. "Are you done punishing me?" she asked. "Where did you send those forms?" "Oh, my mistake wants to play accountant," she said, laughing. "You signed. Be helpful for once." I asked for my ID. "I don't know what you're talking about," Diane said. "You had my wallet last night." "Everyone saw you storm out," she replied. "You embarrassed me. Fix it." "Tell me what the papers are." A pause, then a soft, "Monday at 5. Don't be late." The call ended. Screen went dark. After shift, I sat in my car and called the number on the alert. A polite voice asked for my social, then read off an application I'd never seen. "There's a verification pending," she said. "You have 72 hours to respond before it goes active." I asked for case number. The next call went to the credit bureau's fraud line, then to my bank branch, then to the legal clinic Marisol had scribbled down. Appointments landed on my calendar. Tomorrow morning for a credit freeze, noon for the bank, late afternoon for legal aid intake. Ken texted about my schedule. Marisol called as I started the engine. "If she's holding an authorization," she said, "you have to block it before it becomes real." Traffic rolled past, indifferent. The dashboard clock blinked 9:12 p.m. Monday at 5 p.m. sat ahead like a locked door. My thumb hovered over ignition, then moved. The credit union opened at 9, and I showed up with a passport and the same missing wallet problem. The receptionist checked my name against the appointment list and slid paperwork across the counter. A banker named Devin waved me over. "New account alert?" he asked. "And someone's using my information," I said. He pulled up a scan and turned the monitor toward me. An application for a new account, my name typed cleanly at the top. The signature at the bottom looked close enough to fool a stranger, but the slant was off, and the pressure was too smooth. The mailing address listed Diane Mercer's house, like my life had been forwarded. Devin tapped another line. "Contact number is a prepaid cell." Below that sat a stamp and a commission number. "Notarized," he said. "Ellen Park, Notary Public." "I didn't sign this," I said. "There's a verification hold," Devin replied. "Monday at 5 p.m. is the cutoff. If it clears, the account goes live." He clicked again. A consent form sat behind the application. "This authorizes access," he said. "Statements, address changes, transfers." He pointed to the authorized party line. "Diane Mercer." "This is for your protection," Devin added, voice flat. "Great," I said. "Put it on a brochure." His face tried to react, then chose neutrality. Copies came out of the printer, each page stamped, a case number written at the top. "Call the credit bureaus today," he said. "Freeze everything. Keep this packet." Before I stood up, Devon wrote the notary commission number and a submission time on the cover sheet. "This came in at 7:46 p.m. last night," he said. "Not online. Dropped at a branch." "Print the consent page, too," I said. He did, stapled it, and handed me a certified copy request form. The phone buzzed before I reached the elevator. Diane's name. It rang out, unanswered. A text landed. If you make this ugly, you know who they'll believe. Another followed right after. I'm your mother. I did what I had to do. Then a third, shorter. Don't forget what you are. Marisol texted. Screenshot everything. Don't reply to Diane. Get the notary info and lock credit now. Aunt Linda called next. Your mom's been crying all morning, she said. Did she mention my wallet? I asked. Linda didn't answer that. Just talk to her. You walked out in front of everyone. She called me a mistake, I said. You know how she gets when she's stressed, Linda replied. Like stress, explained paperwork. The fraud line put me on hold. Then an agent confirmed the application was pending verification. You have 72 hours, she said. Mail is going to my mother's address, I told her. We'll note that, she replied. Before the diner, the car swung toward Aunt Linda's place. She opened the door and sighed like she'd already picked a side. I'm not here to argue, I said. I need facts. Uncle Ray was at the kitchen table. That doorbell thing died again, he said. Figures, with everyone coming and going. Was the Wi-Fi down last night, I asked. Linda shook her head. The router went offline, she said. Ray rebooted it twice. Nothing. So the hallway had no record and the coat rack had no witnesses. Names and times still came out. Who arrived first, who left early, who lingered near the coats. Linda kept repeating, "Why are you doing this to her?" as if Diane was the one being robbed. Work didn't wait for family disasters. The diner lot was half full when an email pinged from Ken. Subject, urgent. He'd forwarded a message from Diane. It accused me of stealing from her purse, threatening her, and showing up at her job to harass her. The tone was calm, almost corporate, like she'd rehearsed it in the mirror. Ken's note under it was one line, "Call me before you clock in." An unknown number rang while I stared at the screen. I let it go to voicemail. A mechanical voice followed. "We need you to confirm details regarding a report filed under your name." The diner door opened behind me, footsteps closing the distance, and my thumb hovered over the callback button. Ken's shoes stopped beside my booth before I could move. He didn't sit, just pointed toward his office. "Now," he said. The door closed. Diane's message sat on his screen, forwarded with my name in the subject line. "She says you stole from her," Ken said. "She says you threatened her. I can't have this here." "I didn't do any of that," I said. A knock came. A man in a gray jacket stepped in, badge clipped to his belt. "Florence Pugh?" he asked. "Yes." "I have documents for you." He handed me a packet and asked for a signature acknowledging delivery. The top page read, "Petition for Order of Protection." Diane Mercer listed as the petitioner. A hearing date was printed in bold. "This is temporary," he said. "You'll get your chance to respond." Ken waited until the man left, then exhaled through his nose. "I'm putting you on leave," he said, "until this clears." "I need hours," I said. "I need this place to stay calm," he replied. My apron came off and the time card stayed in the machine. Ken took my employee badge from the lanyard and set it in a drawer. He didn't meet my eyes. Not even once. People looked up when I walked through the dining room without a tray. Marisol met me near the soda station and glanced at the title page. "She filed on you," she said. "She filed on me," I answered. Her hand closed around my wrist and guided me toward the back door. "Don't argue with her," Marisol said. "Right now, you don't need to be right. You need to prove it." She pressed a business card into my palm. Legal aid plus a handwritten extension. "Call. Ask for intake. Today." My phone buzzed. "Diane." "I warned you," the text said. "Stop making me do this." Another message stacked on top. "If you make this ugly, you know who they'll believe." I drove to the bank anyway. The debit reader chirped, then rejected the transaction. The teller leaned closer. "Your accounts are restricted pending verification," she said. "It's tied to a consent authorization on file." Consent. The word Diane had covered with her hand while pushing papers at me. Monday at 5. The deadline wasn't about her company. It was about my name becoming useful. Diane opened her front door before I knocked, hair brushed, voice soft, like she'd been practicing. "There you are," she said. "You look tired. You should eat." My wallet sat on the coffee table, opened, ID returned to its slot. Next to it was a folder with sticky tabs. Diane tapped the top tab. "That's what you signed," she said. "You were upset at Linda's. You didn't read." "I didn't sign anything," I said. She slid a page forward. The signature resembled mine in the way a counterfeit bill resembles money. A stamp sat beside it. "Ellen Park," Diane said. "Notary Public. Official enough for you?" That name matched the one Devin had printed at the credit union. Diane watched me connect it and smiled. "I did what I had to do," she said. "My job is on the line, my health insurance, my life." "You used my identity," I said. "Your family," she replied. "Family helps." The protection order packet was still in my hand. Diane flicked her fingers at it. "That's paperwork," she said. "You forced my hand. You were getting intense." A car door slammed at the curb. Marisol had followed and stayed back, calling my name once. "Florence, don't." Diane turned toward the sound and brightened. "Of course you brought someone," she said, always needing a witness. Any argument would become another line in Diane's story. So the folder went back on the table. My wallet went into my pocket. No yelling, no pleading, just retrieval. Upstairs, a suitcase came out from under the bed. Clothes, passport, and the few documents that mattered went in. The rest stayed. Diane filled the doorway while the zipper ran shut. "If you leave," Diane said, "don't come back begging." The room I'd rented by the week sat above a laundromat and came with one chair that didn't match anything. My suitcase leaned against the wall like it was waiting for permission to fall over. On the table, papers from the diner, the bank, and the process server formed a sloppy stack. The phone kept lighting up with Diane's name until I turned it face down. A legal clinic voicemail sat unread, so I listened while pulling out a pen. "Intake is first come, first served. Bring identification and any documents." The word identification made me snort. It was the first sound that wasn't useful. A neighbor's TV thumped through the wall, and the noise gave me something else to ignore. A sheet of notebook paper went down. At the top, I wrote 3 things: time, place, what happened. No adjectives. The dinner at Aunt Linda's, the coat rack, the missing wallet, the first credit alert in the driveway, Ken's forwarded email, the protection order packet. Each line got a timestamp, even if I had to dig through call logs to find it. When the timeline reached Monday 5 p.m., the date circled itself. Devin's packet from the credit union sat open beside me. The notary name, Ellen Park, stared from the consent page, paired with a commission number and a submission time, 7:46 p.m., Sunday. That wasn't a feeling. It was a fact. Diane had been texting at that exact time. My fingers went through the screenshots on my phone. Diane's, "You know who they'll believe." Diane's, "Stop making me do this." The email to Ken, written like a complaint to HR. Every message got saved twice, once to cloud storage and once to a folder I created and labeled with the week's date. That label felt cold, which helped. Marisol called. I answered on the first ring. "You eat?" she asked. "No." "Okay, next question. Did you freeze credit?" "I started. I have appointments." "Good. Don't let them talk you out of it." Her voice stayed level, the way it always did when the grill was backed up and customers got loud. She didn't ask if I was okay. She asked what I needed. "I have the notary name," I said. "That's not enough," Marisol replied. "It's a start," I said. A pause, then paper rustling on her end. "I pulled something," she said. "From where?" "Ken forwarded me the full header on that email your mom sent." "What does that mean?" "It means it shows where it came from." Marisol read it out, slow, like a recipe. "IP address," she said. "Matches your mom's provider. Same neighborhood, same block." That was the first time the day shifted without Diane touching it. "I'm emailing it to you," Marisol added. "Print it. Bring it to legal aid." The printer at the laundromat office took coins, so I shoved quarters in and watched the page crawl out. Numbers. routing lines, a digital trail that didn't care about family dinners. I folded it into my folder and wrote email header across the top. The dispute form on the credit bureau site asked if I was reporting identity theft. Clicking yes opened more questions: date of discovery, suspected party, address, relationship. The cursor hovered over mother. That felt like stepping on a nail, but the form didn't flinch. A text came through from Aunt Linda. Your mom is falling apart. Please stop. No question mark, no room for reply. The wall was built out of everybody's comfort. The next page asked for attachments. I uploaded the scanned consent form with Diane's address. I uploaded the notary page. I uploaded the email header. The site offered a box for additional notes. One sentence went in. I did not authorize Diane Mercer to open or access any accounts in my name. The confirmation page produced a new case number. I copied it onto paper, then into my phone, then into the subject line of an email to myself. Before doubt could start talking, the cursor went to the final button: submit. The legal aid office sat in a strip mall between a tax prep place and a nail salon. I signed in, slid my folder across the counter, and took a plastic chair under a poster that said, Know Your Rights. An attorney named Patrice Coleman called my name and led me to a small room with a laptop and a legal pad. She didn't offer sympathy. She offered forms. Start with the packet, she said. I handed her the protection order and the credit union copies. She skimmed, then asked, Did you ever give your mother permission to act for you? No, I said. Did you ever sign anything at your aunt's house? She shoved papers at me, I said. I didn't sign. Patrice turned the consent page so I could see the notary line. That stamp means someone brought this to a notary, she said, not a website glitch. She pulled up my credit report through a secure portal and pointed at accounts that weren't new at all. A retail card from 2 years ago, a personal loan from last summer. Each one had the same mailing address, Diane's. Patrice slid my timeline sheet next to the screen. The submission time Devin gave me lined up with the moment Diane texted, done. The Monday 5 p.m. deadline wasn't about her job drama. It was the moment my name would be locked onto that new account. A clerk at the county building stamped my dispute affidavit and copied my passport. Patrice had me file it the same day so there'd be a public record that I challenged the paperwork before the cutoff. When we walked back to her office, my phone showed 3 missed calls from Diane and 1 from Aunt Linda. Patrice watched me silence them and nodded once, like she'd seen that move before. Then Patrice opened an email that had arrived while I was at the clerk's window. The sender line belonged to a law firm representing Diane's employer. The subject read, Cease and Desist. They're claiming you've been harassing an employee, Patrice said. They want you to stop contacting her workplace and stop defaming her. I haven't contacted her workplace, I said. Patrice scrolled. They attached a notarized power of attorney, she said. It authorizes her to manage financial matters on your behalf. That's fake. Maybe, Patrice said, but in civil court, fake still takes time to unwind. She called the credit bureau while I sat there and listened. The agent thanked her for the case number, then used a phrase that made my stomach drop. This appears to be a domestic dispute. The fraud flag stayed, but the urgency evaporated. Patrice asked about the night at Aunt Linda's and the missing wallet. When I mentioned the broken doorbell unit and my purse moved on the hooks, she didn't comment on feelings. She wrote down 2 words, opportunity and control. A new folder came out of her drawer, labeled with Diane's company name. Patrice slid it across the desk without opening it. If she's willing to risk criminal exposure to cover herself, there's a reason, Patrice said. What reason? I asked. Money, she replied, and a paper trail at work. Marisol's sticky note number sat on top of my folder, smudged from my thumb. Patrice tapped the company folder. To stop her, you don't chase her in the family group chat, she said. You hit the place that can't ignore documented risk. She pointed at the name again. Her career. Her employer. Their files. She finally opened the folder. A covenant notice. A lender letter demanding new capital within days. a memo about liquidity shortfall. Diane's company wasn't just stressed, it was bleeding, and someone had decided my credit could serve as a bandage. Patrice circled the deadline on the lender letter and compared it to my Monday cutoff. The dates overlapped like gears. She wrote a name in the margin, an HR director at the company, and underlined it twice. "That's your missing helper," Patrice said. "Notaries don't appear by accident." "Neither do complaints sent to your boss." My hand closed around the folder. I stood up, dialing Marisol as the case number glowed on my screen. Marisol answered on the first ring. "Tell me you're not driving to her house again," she said. "No," I told her. "Good. Then do what Patrice said. Make it a work problem." That line stayed with me longer than anything else from that week. It also aged well. The conference room on the 32nd floor smelled like burnt coffee and panic. A dozen people sat around a long table, laptops open, jackets still on like nobody trusted the building to keep them warm. A countdown sat on the agenda. Lender call at 4 o'clock, covenant deadline at 5 o'clock. They kept saying the same phrase in different accents. We need a new investor. We need a partner. We need a solution. A man at the head of the table checked his watch for the third time. "Northridge Capital should be here any minute," he said. "They're the only firm willing to move fast." The door opened, and my attorney stepped in first. Calm and boring, the way you want a lawyer to be in a crisis. Patrice followed, carrying a slim case file with a tamper seal. I walked behind them, badge clipped to my blazer, hands free. The room stood up in a wave. "Florence Pugh," the man said, relief rushing into his voice. "Thank you for coming." "Let's sit," Patrice said, already taking a chair. They started the pitch before everyone's knees bent. Numbers, contracts, a warehouse lease, a payroll cycle they couldn't miss. Someone called it a temporary liquidity issue, which is what people say when the bleeding is permanent and they're hoping you don't notice. Then the man glanced at a name on his notes. "We also have Diane Mercer joining us," he said. "She knows you. She can speak to—" Diane walked in like she'd been invited to a charity luncheon. Hair done, lipstick on, a small smile that said she'd practiced being humble. "There she is," Diane said. "My girl." Nobody laughed. A few people looked at me like they'd just realized the building had a basement. Patrice opened the file and slid a single sheet toward the center of the table. "We're here to talk about money," I said. "But if we're doing family too, I brought paperwork." Diane's smile froze for half a second, then restarted. "She's dramatic," Diane said lightly. "Always has been." Patrice pushed the first packet forward, certified copies, stamped and dated. "These are account applications submitted under Florence Pugh's name," Patrice said. "Mailing address is Diane Mercer's residence. Authorized party is Diane Mercer. Notarized by Ellen Park." Diane leaned back, arms folding. "She signed those," Diane said. "Now she regrets it and wants to blame me." Patrice didn't argue. She moved to the next page. A signature comparison. The real signature from my passport, the counterfeit from the consent form, and a third from an old employment document. The differences sat there like bad handwriting on a report card. "This is the timeline of credit inquiries," Patrice said. "Here is the submission log from the branch. Here is the credit bureau dispute with case number and timestamp." She read the case number out loud. The room turned toward Diane again. Diane gave a little laugh. "Wow," she said. "She's really doing this. In front of strangers." "Not strangers," I said. "Stakeholders." The CFO cleared his throat. "Diane," he said, "is this true?" Diane's eyes narrowed and her voice softened, aimed at me instead of the table. "Florence, stop," she said. "You're going to ruin everything. For everyone." Patrice slid out the last item. A sworn statement from Ellen Park, Notary Public, on letterhead with a commission number that matched the stamp. Diane Mercer appeared with identification belonging to Florence Pugh, Patrice read. Documents were presented pre-signed. Diane Mercer instructed me the signer could not attend. Diane started talking over her. "That's not what happened," she said. "She's lying. Anyone can write a statement." Patrice tapped the bottom of the page. "Notary verification hotline number," she said. "Called yesterday. confirmed. The head of the table stared at Diane like she'd turned into a different person mid-meeting. I slid a second folder across the table, this one labeled with Northridge's term sheet. We were prepared to inject capital, I said. Condition 1, full disclosure of all legal exposure. Condition 2, Diane Mercer has no access to financial operations, records, or employee files going forward. Diane's chair scraped. You can't do that, she snapped. I work here. The CFO looked at the CEO. The CEO looked at the general counsel. Nobody answered fast enough. That's a no, Patrice said, closing the folder. I stood, not slamming anything, not making a scene, just standing. Then Northridge is out, I said. Patrice stepped to Diane and held out an envelope. Notice of fraud report and preservation demand, she said. The door opened again. 2 people from compliance walked in with badges and the kind of polite faces that never mean anything good. Diane Mercer, one asked. We need you to come with us. Diane looked around the table, searching for someone to rescue her, and found only chairs and stairs as her heels clicked toward the hall. Compliance didn't let Diane walk back into the room. They guided her down the hall. She kept her chin up until the elevator doors opened, then her hand shot toward my sleeve. Florence, don't do this. Patrice stepped between us. All communication goes through counsel, she said. Diane turned to the CEO. You're going to let her destroy my life over a misunderstanding? The CEO's mouth opened, then closed. A compliance officer handed Diane a badge return envelope. Ms. Mercer, you're on administrative leave, effective immediately, the officer said. Diane stared at it. What about payroll? HR will contact you, the officer replied. Marisol waited near reception, arms folded like she was holding herself in place. They're escorting her, she said. A poster on the wall read, Integrity Matters. At least they hung it in the right building, I said. Patrice handed the general counsel a second packet. Preservation notice, fraud report receipt, and the notary affidavit, she said. The general counsel nodded, eyes on the stamp dates. In the lobby, Diane tried to slow down. The compliance officer kept moving. She stopped near the security turnstiles anyway. She's always been like this, Diane said. Cold, vindictive. No one argued, no one defended. They watched. My phone lit up again. Aunt Linda, Uncle Ray, cousins. It rang out. Patrice held out my folder. Go file the supplemental statement while we still have momentum, she said. At the county clerk's office, the clerk stamped my updated affidavit, attached the new case number, and slid the receipt back. Freeze stays active, she said. If anyone tries to change it, you'll be notified. At the bank, the teller confirmed the address change request had been blocked. Mailing address is now yours only, she said. Patrice emailed me a copy of the company's internal notice. Diane had been removed from systems access pending investigation. Another message from their lender requested an incident report and a list of authorized signers. The general counsel CC'd compliance and, for once, Diane wasn't on the thread. My phone kept buzzing. Aunt Linda left a voicemail that started with, I'm staying out of it, and ended with, call your mother. Uncle Ray texted a thumbs up to Diane's story and a question mark to mine. The group chat went silent when Patrice sent me a screenshot of the fraud case acknowledgement. At a carrier kiosk, I bought a new SIM, transferred only Marisol and Patrice, and watched the clerk cut my old number loose. Then I powered the phone down and breathed once. By afternoon, Diane's protection order petition was withdrawn. Patrice forwarded the notice. Ken texted one line, let me know when you can talk. I'm sorry. No apology from Diane showed up, just more calls. The parking garage at the tower was mostly empty when Diane appeared by the elevator bank, walking fast like she'd been holding her breath. Are you happy now? She asked. Step back, Patrice said. Diane ignored her. Are you really going to make me lose everything? She demanded. My job, my insurance, you want that on your conscience? A security guard watched from a distance, waiting. What I want is my name back, I said. Diane's eyes bounced from Marisol to Patrice, then locked on me. You're doing this because of one sentence, she said. I was joking. Everyone knew I was joking. Her voice softened. Be my daughter. fix this." Patrice didn't raise her voice. "Leave," she said, "or we call it in." Diane stepped closer anyway. "You really are the family's mistake," she hissed. My keys cut into my palm. "Sometimes a mistake is the best thing that teaches you your worth," I said. Diane's face tightened, waiting for something I didn't give. The guards started walking over. Patrice guided me toward the elevator, and Marisol stayed close. That night, a new lease sat on my counter in a different building across town. I signed, initialed, and handed the pen back to the property manager. "Forwarding address?" she asked. "None," I said. In the hallway, my phone buzzed with Diane's name. My thumb held the contact until the menu appeared, then tapped Delete Contact, and the screen asked if I was sure.